Scorpions, seizures, and panic attacks. Three things I've had experience with individually, but not something I've had to deal with all in the same night. Last night was something. Last night, while my wife and I were streaming Super Mario Bros. Wonder, toward the end of our stream, when we were about to start our final level for the night, Desi spotted a scorpion crawling across our uh, TV stand. I mean, thankfully, it wasn't a huge scorpion. It was about maybe adolescent because it was still gold and it was still not shelled. Um. Anyway, so we spent about 20 minutes trying to find the little fucker because he was crawling around the DVDs and he disappeared. So we started messing around with things on the computer desk, or not the computer desk. I'm sorry. I'm looking at my computer desk. We started moving things on the TV stand for him to crawl away, and he moved to the side of the PlayStation, went behind my Switch, which we thought originally he hid inside of the back of my Switch, so we even popped it open. Thankfully, he wasn't in there. But apparently made his way around my terabyte storage, which was behind my Switch, which were both in front of our TV. And then he went behind the PlayStation, and we lost him. That was within like the first 3 or 4 minutes of us trying to get him. And at first, I was gonna try and catch him in one of our little plastic mug thingies with a lid, but then I was like, wait a shit, I found my grabber. So I went and grabbed my grabber, and then we started moving things on the top of the TV stand again. It was gone. So we scooched the TV stand forward to look behind it, and we still couldn't find it. So what I eventually did was the side of the TV stand where the DVDs were. There's a cabinet space underneath, so I opened it, and that's where we have a few books, some DVDs, and a few of her PlayStation games. So I started moving those out, and when I pushed some of the cases out, I saw a flat scorpion, and I thought it was dead. So I was like, "Well, I found a scorpion, but I don't think it was it." So I went to go grab it, and it started running around. So I was like, "I think that's it." At least I hope that was it. So I managed to grab it with my grabber. I even posted on my community section for my YouTube and on my Instagram and on my Twitter. Anyway, don't get me wrong. It's like what? Well, when I grabbed it, I was originally gonna let it go outside, but Desi was like, "No, we have enough of those in our property. We don't need it to procreate or return." I was like, "Okay, that's fair." I flushed it down the toilet, and then I drowned our toilet with bleach and left it there just in case it made its way back. It would drown in the bleach. I never saw it, so it's okay. Oh, um, the reason why that was such a freaky thing for us. Don't get me wrong, scorpions freak out pretty much everyone. Is I mean, I love scorpions. They fascinate me. They are my favorite bug animal. They have an uncontrollable. They freak me out as much as I love them, and it's not because of how they look or how dangerous. Well, I guess you could count it to be as how dangerous they are. It's because when I was 6, I was playing outside of my house one day in a pair of socks outside, like just off of my front porch. My left foot stepped on a nest of scorpions, and I got very sick. And I still have this memory ingrained into my brain, even after all of the damage my head's taken over the years. But it's still ingrained in my head. My dad having me on the couch, he's got my foot in his hand, and he's taking tweezers and pulling stingers out of my foot. It wasn't fun. It's like I took some tails with me. Whew. I haven't been the same since. Still love them though. They're still awesome. I mean, killing them is never my first choice. And killing an animal is never my first choice. So, but I have a 9-month-old who, you know, actively plays in my living room, so I have to make sure I get rid of them. So for her safety, I have to get rid of the spiders and the scorpions. Chapter 2. Seizures. I know a lot of you out there have experience with seizures. And mind you, my experience isn't much because they only started happening with me back in 2017. And they're few and far between, don't get me wrong, but there are times when I start getting super dizzy and my eyes my sight gets blurry and I start to shake in my hands. Just my hands, like they start doing like this. And when that happens, I start going quiet and I can't talk. And when that happens, that's how I can tell that this is coming on. And last night we were eating dinner, and it just I almost dropped my food, so I wasn't able to hold on to my food very much throughout the night. And then when we got home, because we were at Desi's parents' house at this time, and then when we got home, a little bit after that, it really hit me, and I'm sitting in my chair, and I'm about to fall over, but Desi notices and catches me, and she's holding on to me while I'm sitting here just. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. My point is that, and when it comes to situations like the seizures, I know I need to go to the doctor to get seen. Main reason I never have is because I've never had insurance. We've only recently gotten full coverage insurance on our family, so I still need to find myself a primary care doctor to be seen for this. I mean, there were a few times while I was working at Planet Fitness that I would have them, and it caused me to go home. There have been a few times when out with Caleb and it happened. I mean, so I'm looking for a doctor, especially after last night. It's just they're scary because I don't know how anyone else experiences theirs, but with mine, I can. It's like I. It's like I'm stuck behind a glass wall, watching everything happen, and I can't do anything, and it feels like that's that's it. Like when you can see it happen, but you can't do anything to stop yourself from doing all of the notions from, or you just can't regain control of yourself. You're literally just on a wall. And those scare me, especially now since we've got Ember, because I don't want something like that to happen, and then something happens to me during the day while Ember is either sleeping or playing on the couch, and then that's it until Desi comes home to find me. I don't ever want that to happen. So I'm looking for a doctor. It's just it hasn't been easy up until now. It still isn't, but okay, it hasn't been an option up until now. Chapter 3. Panic attacks. Before last night, I had only ever had an experience with one panic attack in my life, and that was when I was 16. it was a time frame when my stepmother was treating my brother, my sister, and myself so horribly in comparison to her own kids. Like constantly yelling at us, blaming us for things that her kids were doing, punishing us for things her kids were doing. It was so bad that my sister left our home at 15. My brother left the 2 years after that when he was 16, because he's a year younger than she is. And then, as much as I hate to admit it, even I did it. There was one night when I was laying in bed. It was bedtime. I mean, of course we were kids. But all of a sudden, my stepmom just burst into the fucking door, blaming me for eating all of the snacks in the kitchen that night when I hadn't left the bedroom. It was her daughter that did it, and I just couldn't take it anymore. And I told them 2 days after that I didn't want to stay in the same house as her and my friend at the time. He didn't stay a friend for long. Don't get me wrong, but my friend at the time did let me stay with him for those couple days at first. But there was a night I woke up and I had the sinking feeling in my chest where it felt like an elephant was sitting on me. I was shaky. I could barely move. I couldn't breathe. Mm, I thought I was having a heart attack, to be honest. At 16, it was horrible, and I didn't know what else to do. So I crawled to a phone, knocked it off the counter, and called my dad. That was the first thing that I did. And my dad at the time, since he didn't know where Terry lived, even though he only lived like 3 streets away, I never said specific. Well, I told him where he lived. They had just never been over there, so he eventually called. Like when I was struggling to tell my dad what was going on, he hung up and then called the house, like my friend's house, so his parents would wake up, and then his mom rushed down the stairs, grabbed me, and took me to the hospital. And then my dad met me there. That's when I found out that was my first panic attack. I didn't go home, or I didn't go back to the friend's house that night. I went home with my dad and I stayed there because I needed my dad. And last night, while we were getting ready for bed, I sat on the bed and my chest started to sink. It was hard to breathe. That elephant feeling was back. I started shaking. The vision got blurry. It felt just like back then. Only difference is that I didn't fall to the ground because I didn't have anyone to call because Desi was behind me. But at the time, I needed my dad. And again, he's right here. All I could do is wait it out for as long as I could so I could get coherent again. And then I struggled my way back to my office because I needed to be with him. And I know it's insulting to my family when they're right here when I'm having this trouble, but the only experience I have with this is with my dad. I have so many things wrong with me that I got from my mom, so many mental problems because my mother was fucking psycho. But she died the year before all of it started manifesting in my head. So I never got to ask what all her problems were because I fucking refused to communicate with her after my dad divorced her because she tried kidnapping my brother and me. And after all the things that she put me through, now I didn't have anyone to ask. I didn't have my sister to ask because she hasn't gone through any of it. I don't talk to my brother. I refuse to talk to my brother because reason. But I know it's probably something I should see a therapist about too. But again, the whole not having insurance or money for doctors or therapy. I guess I just gotta live with it until I can figure it out. Therapy is going to be the biggest difficulty, since how a lot of insurances don't cover it. But I needed to vent. I mean, I talked to Desi about this stuff too, but sometimes, I mean, at the moment she was at work, I didn't have anyone to talk to, so I decided to put it into a video. See if anyone out there uh, can would like to share their experience, or they have anything to say. I don't know. Just since I became a YouTuber, I wanted to be interactive with my audience. Can't be much more interactive with your audience than showing the raw, yeah, the raw emotion that you don't usually get to see on camera. So I just wanted to vent about it because I've had an experience with all three of them individually, but I've never experienced all three of them in the same night. And then this, like I said, the panic attack I hadn't had since I was 16. So that's 21 years. But I still remembered it vividly. I just wish I knew why it happened. Then again, over the last like 13, 14 days, I've been struggling in my mind or in my head, so maybe it was just a build up. Either way, thank you for letting me rant. If you guys have any experiences that you'd like to share, feel free to comment down below. I'd love to read and I'd love to share experiences. Otherwise, thank you for watching. Like, share, subscribe. You know how it is. Anyway, Bad News Harris out.